Me to talk about, huh? That trillions of dollars are going in the gutter and that the markets are crashing at the moment, and that we are also getting ready for full-scale World War III, which I've been telling y'all for 5 years to prepare. I told y'all 5 years ago, prepare for everything that's going to come. Whether we went with Democrats or Republicans, it was going to be bad, like, because we are in a new era of tensions and everybody's struggling, so everybody has to distract people by getting ready for war. We literally have the United States near Iran loading their B 2 bombers now. As it's been reported today, they're loading the B 2 bombers. Netanyahu's coming here Monday to meet with us about strikes on Iran, how to handle Hamas, and other regional issues like Egypt and Turkey building up in Syria. Russia did a strike in Ukraine and claimed to hit Western instructors and also Ukrainian commanders. Iran is threatening to attack Diego Garcia with drones and missiles if the United States don't back off, and especially if they attack them. They also said they're going to try to get nuclear weapons. The United States is eyeing a Russian satellite that also released 3 satellites, and now they released a mystery object that's making weird maneuvers. So, like, that's China and Russia starting to do weird stuff in space. Guess they're getting prepared. The Houthis continue to strike Israel every day and try to strike our aircraft carrier every day. Rubio was saying that the United States' patience is running out on Russia to come up to a deal and that they got weeks to come to a deal, not months. Zelensky is warning that French and UK troops will be the first ones to enter Ukraine when the ceasefire is done. That means that Russia's probably not going to come to a ceasefire if they know that troops are about to be deployed into Ukraine. They had their military delegation there. They're still there today talking about how they're going to send these troops in, what these troops can and can't do, what areas they're going to be deployed at, and if they can defend themselves or shoot back at the Russians if they're attacked. Trump is giving TikTok a 75-day extension to reach a deal. After the tariffs, it kind of messed up the deal that they had on Wednesday. There was a deal that was already made, and now China said they're not agreeing to the deal because of the tariffs. Ukraine is claiming that Russia broke their ceasefire. Actually, they just demolished the ceasefire because they did a 91 drone attack on their infrastructure, and now Ukraine is saying they're no longer going to abide by the ceasefire. And China hit us with 34 retaliatory tariffs. They're saying prices are about to go through the roof, guys. If this retaliatory stuff keeps going on and we keep going back and forth in this trade war, the poor class is going to struggle. The middle class will struggle within 4 to 6 months. And of course, the rich probably won't even feel it. It'll be like a little fart to them. Anyways, this is the latest. Got more news coming next. Love it. So this is what everybody wanted me to
United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests. We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests. We stand.
I mean, you're clearly seeing a massive increase in the number of attacks in Italy and broadly in Europe. And the media, the legacy media downplays these attacks. But the attacks, the terrorism, the killing of innocent people is rising. Every week there's more. And it's more and more. And I mean, you're clearly seeing a massive increase in the number of attacks in Italy and broadly in Europe. And the media, the legacy media downplays these attacks. But the attacks, the terrorism, the killing of innocent people is rising. Every week there's more. And it's more and more. And eventually, I think we're going to see widespread slaughter in Europe. That is the trend. If you simply extrapolate the trend of what is the rate at which the terrorist attacks are occurring in Europe, and put those points, it's basically deadly attacks versus time on a graph and extrapolate that graph, it leads to the slaughter of Europe. I mean, you're clearly seeing a massive increase.
Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk. But there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis. Number one for present, but also for past. Because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen. Europe's treated us very badly.
All right, shalom, shalom. First off, give our praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakakadash, giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and the women who follow. This is the brother Krazazah from the GMS Nebraska camp, coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And this lesson is entitled World War III Update, News, and Prophecy. And I'll probably throw the date in here. This is really for 4/7/25, but it's 4/8/25 now. So so let's get straight to it. So we had the first video, and there was a lot said. This guy's a real good follow. Javante the journalist on TikTok. And he has a lot of good content, but he was talking about how the stock market is crashing due to the tariffs. So let's check out this article on CNN.com, CNN Business. All right, it says extreme volatility sends the U.S. stocks on a roller coaster ride as Wall Street is rattled by tariffs. So we know that Trump, I think they had a Trump rally in New York. Or it's like a Trump protest. And it was like stupid thick. Let me see if I can get a aerial view. There we go. Damn. That's crazy, though. That is crazy. That's a lot of people. People are tired. People are just tired of. Damn. I didn't mean to do that. But people are tired of just, getting, fucked over, just to say it pretty plainly, man. Getting the short end of the stick. Look at this. Going all the way back there, just city blocks, worth of people. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 or 6, probably more. Who knows how many, more blocks is this way? Could be half a mile worth of people all protesting, these tariffs, which Trump is saying, according to, this video right here, it's a necessary evil. It's basically saying, either y'all gonna pay it or, and then what? You want our security, you want our resources, all right, you got to come up off that money, So it's a lot going on right now. It's a lot going on. It's like I'm jumping around, but it's a beautiful time to be alive, a fearful time to be alive because we know what's on the horizon. But it says extreme volatility sends the U.S. stocks on a roller coaster ride as Wall Street is rattled by tariffs. All right, it says the U.S. stocks mostly fell after an extremely volatile day Monday, tumbling, surging, then bouncing around in every direction as traders search for any sign that President Donald Trump's tariffs will be negotiated or halted. Markets around the world had tumbled earlier in the day over concerns about how Trump's sweeping tariffs might upend the global economy and stymie economic growth. U.S. stocks opened the day in the bear market territory, but surged an hour later on rumors that the Trump administration may pause tariffs perhaps for several months. The rumor turned out to be just that. A White House official called any suggestion that Trump would pause fake news. And despite signs that some trading partners, including the EU, might be willing to negotiate with Trump, the president dashed those Dinetti hopes when he said he can slap another 50% on China. You know, so he's not playing. All right, he put it out there. You know, you want me to take off these tariffs? Better drop that money. You know, whatever we owe you, we don't owe you no more. And matter of fact, you owe us, so you need to be paying us for the debt that we actually had owed to you. You know, that's the mindset that he's in, and he don't give no fuck because he's not gonna be affected by it. He has billions of dollars, billions upon billions, right? But as the video said, the people who are going to be affected the most are the lower class, the middle class citizens. All right. Now, if you can go to work with goddamn, you know, 5 sweaters on, or you know, the finest of 2025 wear, and you know, all your bills is paid and all that, you're not worried about none of this. But for the people who gotta wake up, you know, get the kids ready to go to school, drop off the kids, go to work, you know, get off, your day was shitty, your boss was an asshole, you know, you gotta go pick up the kids from school, you know, you need to stop at the bar and get a drink. That's people's reality, man. This place is wicked, and this place it needs to be done over or done with. Okay. But so that's on a roller coaster today. The Dow closed lower by 349 points, or 0.91%. Let me back that up. It says pause. Slock it. Damn. Y'all forgive me. It says, and just like that, the Dow, which had risen nearly 900 points, was back down again. So you know you got a lot of people who are losing money behind these tariffs. People who had a 401ks in the stock market. It's about to be 2008 all over again. You know, and the longer that these tariffs and you know this trade war, like they said, goes on, there's only going to be the only losers are the people, because the countries are going to be all right, you know, but the people who have to buy the goods, who have to buy the things that need to be transported over here, they're the people who are going to pay. All right, and then you know, their consumer, their customer, you're going to have to pay because they're paying. Imagine, you know, they were getting, I don't know, let's say they were getting, if they needed to import cedar wood or some shit like that, some cedar wood, and they were getting it for um, 40 dollars a foot. All right, just that doesn't sound right. Say they were getting $40 for 40 pounds. Now, you know, the for let's say 50, it makes it just easier. Or 100, yeah, 100 makes it easier. So $100 for per pallet, you know, you get $100, right? So with these tariffs, that $100 that you were spending would now be $125. You know, could be $150. So now is more difficult for people to, you know, to work, because really to do anything, because everything's gonna go up. It's a domino effect. All right, you're bringing in all these exports. They're going to be exponentially higher, so that money has to come from somewhere. All right, and as well as like the food, the price of housing, gas, all that's about to go up. All right, people that are living paycheck to paycheck right now, you know, you're really going to be struggling, yo. you're gonna have to make those life decisions. Do I want to pay my rent, or do I want to put food on the table? Do I want to get my brakes fixed, or do I want to be able to eat next week? So um, let's move on, because it's a lot that we dealing with. But he mentioned a few things. Well, let's get the scripture first. This is Habakkuk chapter 2:6. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." All right. So this is talking about the so-called white man. All right, in his track record of rape, rob, murder, stealing the whole world, and claiming that he discovered it. But it goes into him that laid himself with thick clay, and that's this petrodollars beast currency that we're um experiencing right now, because real money is what? Land, cattle, and gold. All right, but these greenbacks, this money that we see and that people are killing people behind, it's just a promissory note on a piece of paper. It only has value because people believe that it has value. If people, thought that fucking seashells was worth it, and they changed the currency to seashells, you better get you some seashells, right? Or else you're gonna be asked out. People ain't taking dollars no more, and that's what's coming. People ain't gonna be taking dollars no more, and with this tariff, man, you just it's a can of worms out there. It's a can of worms that were open. All right, a line in the sand has been drawn. So everybody got to pick a side. Everybody has to pick a side in this thing. All right. And this, like, I don't know if I said it, but I'll say it again if I didn't. That this thick clay is talking about debt. All right. Um, these tariffs are going to cause a heavy debt, not only on just the consumer, but on these small businesses and the big businesses as well that are going out of business. I think they said one of the hardware stores, I think Lowe's hardware store, they're going to be closing either all the locations or some of the locations. Let me see. Lowe's closing for 24 hours. Lowe's is to close for 24 hours. Oh, okay. Maybe I read it wrong. All right. Okay. So that's my bad. But you do have a lot of stores who are, going out of business, selling off a lot of their properties. You know, also I work in insurance, and there's a lot of small businesses who are, they're closing their doors, or they got to find something else because these insurance prices are going through the roof, especially in California. Especially in California after those fires, you know, to be insured for a small business, your price is going up. It's just like eggs is going up, just like chicken and beef and all these other things, all the other foods that we eat and creature comforts that we take for granted. All that shit is going up, man. So, you know, call all Yabashimi Ashai. Why am I on this page? Um, yeah, Matthew 24:6, it says, "And ye should hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." So, he was going through all these different scenarios, how, France is going to come into Ukraine if the ceasefire ends, and the Houthis are shooting Israel. Iran's ready to strike America, and America's ready to strike Iran, and China's doing this, that, and the third. Hey, man, these just wars and rumors of war. This is building up, though. All right, I definitely can see it more clearly. I could see it before, but every day the picture is getting, more and more fine, more and more clairvoyant. You can literally see what's going on. All right, the bones, they say, the bones of World War III are being built. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. That 7.7 hit how do you pronounce it? The country next to Thailand, because Bangkok got hit. Myanmar, you know, um, the famines and pestilence. They keep talking about these flus, these different I'll say ailments that are coming up, as well as with these tariffs, people ain't gonna have the money for food, you know. And if even if they do, like a lot of these, let me see. Let me see. I can put this. All right. So let's say oil getting shipped into the country, and those tariffs hit, the price is going up. But it's not just about your gas, all your products, man. All your products are made from oils. You know, fuels like gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel, as well as materials like asphalt, plastics, lubricants, waxes, even some components in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. Kerosene, lubricants, waxes, you know, all kinds of stuff, man. Things that you wouldn't think of: tires, polyester toothbrushes, petroleum jelly, just like regular basic things that you never would think that would be high, they're going to be high, and this is just part of the growing pains that symbolize the time that we're in. Um, he got to talking about World War III and how he's been speaking about it for the past 5 years. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, starting from the apostles on down, the true men of the Lord, the hopeful elect, been speaking about this for damn near 40 years, 40 plus years. So this is definitely the time that we're coming into. This is Isaiah 13:4. It says, "The noise of the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdom of the nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts, mustereth the host of the battle." Right. So all these nations are gathering together. So let's get this word mustereth. All right, it's the Strong's H6485 Pequod. It says to attend, to muster the number, to reckon, to visit, to punish, to appoint, look after, to care for, to pay attention, or to observe. Right. So I want to attend, right, or to visit, to punish, to point. All right. So it says the Lord of hosts, he's on his way to the battle. All right. He's going to attend the battle. All right. And him and his forces. All right. They're going to visit. They're going to punish. All right. So that's what's going on. And all these countries, they're all going to be in attendance as well. That's why, the guy was speaking about the UK and France and in Ukraine, in Europe this and Europe that, Russia and China, all these countries, right? Everybody is gearing up for war except America. And when I say America, I'm speaking about the people. The people are just, they're fucking so fluorided up and docile. It's not even funny, you know. Um, Yeah. Going back to the Instagram video, you had the lady, and she's like, "Hey, The EU will make a deal with you, but if you don't want to make a deal, then we're gonna protect ourselves, and that's starting that rift. That rift is getting wider between uh, NATO, the EU, and the United States. So Obadiah 1:7 says, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him." All right, so yeah, NATO, the EU, United States and Canada, everybody was cool. Everybody was buddy buddy. But now Trump then got in there and he said, "Hey, look, I ain't taking this shit no more. I'm gonna go through all eight, of you guys, put put the ball in the cup, and then go and have a drink tonight. It's easy peasy." But let me see. Um, right. So this is Revelation 17:16. It says, "Then the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire." All right. So um, right now, the NATO and the EU are still technically allies, but you can see how this tension is coming in, and they're gonna hate the horde. These European countries, they might, you smile in your face, America, but you best believe they don't want to pay these tariffs just like we don't want to pay the tariffs. I'm all for the tariffs because the tariffs is going to get this to go. The tariffs is going to, stimulate this World War III economy, if that makes sense. It's going to stimulate the World War III machine to activate. All right. So I feel like there was something that I'm missing. There we go. So we're going to bring this over real quick. Jeremiah 50:45, it says, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord, that he has taken against Babylon, and his purposes, that he has purposed against the land of the Chaldees." It says, "Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them." All right, going back to what I was saying about Israel and the Houthis, these guys, they don't give no fuck. They're gonna shoot at Israel every chance they get. They're gonna shoot at America any chance that they get. All right. They just eat Ishmael is a wild man. All right. So we are right there. We are so close. They actually have people actively, trying to keep tabs on us. So just be wise, be circumspect, you know, don't fall for nobody bullshit. There's agents all around. You never know who is an agent and who's sincere. It's not hard to fake the funk, but you can't escape Yahweh Shem Yahshai and his judgment. So, Lord's will, this is edifying, and I give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakadash, giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS, salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, the men and the women who follow. Shalom.